Hey, hi, hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess and we are going to talk about AI. Again, not a new topic, but there have been recent developments about a book that was supposed to come out this year by Hachette, I believe is the publisher, and it was called Shy Girl, but it has been pulled because of usage or allegations of usage of AI to write the story. So funny enough, I saw people theorizing about this book being AI last year, but it wasn't out yet. And I had seen the cover on NetGalley, but I was like, it didn't really sound that interesting to me, so I didn't request it. I have not read this. So there was an article written in the New York Times and someone was a kind soul and posted it on Threads as a gifted version so I can actually read the full thing. Because I've had a New York Times subscription before and they made it a pain in the ass to cancel, whatever. But it's called AI is Writing Fiction, Publishers Are Unprepared. Again, this isn't a new topic. I've talked about this before. My disdain for generative AI and people using it to write stories, to create covers for their books, to market their books. Hate. But there also have been stories about people who are basically creating all AI generated books, like making their own publishers and saying they're going to push out like 1,000 books a year. So this sadly is not a new topic. And it seems like every time there's something else about it, it's just not positive. There's not any like law or regulation or any publisher stepping up and saying that they'll take extra action or, try to make sure they do a due diligence to really examine if something was created with AI and like not partnering with these companies or not allowing these companies to read their published works and to train AI models. No, we haven't seen anything like that. Why would we? At the end of the day, publishers are businesses. We live in a capitalist hellscape. And so that means that integrity and morals and stuff don't matter if it gets in the way of the dollar. I wish it was funny. It's not. So I'm going to go through this article. Of course, I saw a lot of people talking about it on Threads. I don't know if I'll read the whole thing, but I'll go through the article to go over the information presented in here and then a couple of notes. Hopefully we get to record this video in one sitting because time is not on our side. Okay. For months, speculation has been building online that a buzzy horror novel, Shy Girl, was written with the help of AI. The novel about a desperate young woman who was held hostage by a man she met online and forced to live as a pet was self-published. Oh, I didn't know that. Self-published February 2025. The book quickly found an audience among horror fans, and Hachette published it in the United Kingdom last fall and planned to release it in the United States this spring, billing it as an unapologetic visceral revenge horror novel. I did not know it was already published in the UK. Earlier this year, Max Sparrow, the founder and chief executive of Pangram, an AI detection program, heard of the claims about Shy Girl and decided to run a test of the full text. Its results indicated the book was 78% AI generated. I'm very confident that this is largely AI generated or very heavily AI assisted, said Sparrow, who posted his research on X in January. The Times also analyzed passages from the novel using several AI detection tools and found recurring patterns characteristic of AI-generated text like gaps in logic, excessive use of melodramatic adjectives, and an over-reliance on the rule of three. In the months since Shy Girl was released in Britain, more readers voiced their suspicions online that the writer relied on AI setting nonsensical metaphors and odd repetitive phrasing. As a chorus of allegations built online in late January that the novel was AI-generated, Hachette stayed silent. In response to questions from the New York Times about the AI allegations against Shy Girl, Hachette told the Times that its imprint Orbit has canceled plans to release the novel in the United States and that Hachette will discontinue its UK edition. The author of Shy Girl, Mia Ballard, who according to her author bio writes poetry and lives in Northern California, has very little social media presence and doesn't appear to have addressed the allegations of AI use on her feeds. In an email to the Times late on Thursday night, Ballard denied using AI to write Shy Girl, contending that an acquaintance she hired to edit the self-published version of the novel had used AI. The decision to cancel the publication came after a lengthy and thorough analysis, Hachette's spokeswoman said, noting that the company values human creativity and requires authors to attest that their work is original. Hachette has also asked its authors to disclose whether they are using AI to the company. Shy Girl appears to be the first commercial novel from a major publishing house to be pulled over evidence of AI use. Its cancellation is a sign that AI writing is not only appearing in cheap self-published ebooks that are flooding Amazon, but is seeping into even traditionally published fiction. The stunning fact that Shy Girl got so far into the editorial process and was even released in the UK before publishers thoroughly... I'm out of breath. Let me stop. I think because I'm rushing against the time. Okay. The stunning fact that Shy Girl got so far into the editorial process and was even released in the UK before publishers thoroughly investigated the claims of AI use is a sign of how unprepared many in the book world are to deal with the rise of AI. It also signals the dawn of an uncertain new era for the book world, as editors and readers alike are increasingly left wondering whether the prose they are reading was written by a human or a machine. Few publishers or editors would talk on the record about how they are handling AI because its writing uses are so divisive and ethically murky. But some publishing executives worry that there is little that can be done to stop AI incursion, especially as the technology rapidly becomes more sophisticated. It's like with plagiarism, you're at the mercy of the author, said Morgan Intrinken, publisher of Grove Atlantic. You have to have confidence in our partners. So then it talks about AI really affecting the self-publishing sphere, because obviously there's no oversight there. You can just put something into a generator and spit something out, put a little cover on it and sell it on your website or put it onto Amazon. I don't think Amazon has any regulations against that. Someone brought this up on Threads, but I have seen it also in the fan fiction space, unfortunately. There are more fics popping up that are written by AI. Some people, I hesitate to say have the decency, but at least will put that it was written by AI, but some people try to pass it off as their own. And it just hurts people who are genuinely writing their stories, whether it's fan fiction, self-published, or traditionally published stories, because there are so many people out here who are actually writing and editing their stories by themselves. And so now there's just always this in the back of your head, especially with fan fiction. If somebody is writing super long fanfics, and they have a lot of them in a short period of time, it looks very suspicious. And then some people have brought up suspicions about a fic, and then it'll get taken down. And it's like, is that an admission that you were using AI, or you just don't want to hear the backlash? So it's just ruining things across the board. So it's not merely inevitable, said Thad McElroy, a publishing industry consultant who has urged publishers to clarify their policies around technology. We're in the midst of it. After McElroy learned of the allegations about Shy Girl from an employee at Penguin, he got a copy of the book and requested reports from Penguin and two other AI detection programs, GPT-0 and Originality.ai. All three found the text likely to be largely or partly generated by AI, with Penguin's report flagging certain phrases, including, "The pause feels like a knife in my chest, sharp and unyielding." And later, "I press the phone to my lips, the screen cool and unyielding," as bearing the hallmarks of chatbot writing. It's nearly impossible to gauge how much AI writing is getting published, but there's evidence that the technology has led to a surge of books. Last year, more than 3.5 million books were self-published, up from 2.5 million in 2024, according to Bowker, which collects books industry data. Traditional publishers released more than 642,000 books last year. But it goes on to talk about AI detectors they're not foolproof. They have decent margins of error, and sometimes they do flag human writing as computer generated. It's even like the conversations that have been happening on social media that if there's a lot of M dashes, then it's mostly AI. But the problem is, and what's making it harder to discern what is AI and what was written by a human, is that these AI models, these language learning models, were trained off of human writing. So of course it's going to mimic things. And obviously there are certain things, especially if you will see gaps in logic, like the story isn't adding up, or something exactly that's repeated over and over. I think those are better indicators. But just saying because it uses a lot of semicolon or M dashes, I'm like, okay, we didn't have this problem till recently, and that means that Sarah J. Maas's books were written with AI because that hoe loves an M dash, So it's again unfair to people who love an M dash to say, "Ooh, you're using those. That's generated by AI." That's because they trained from humans writing. Okay. Oh, let's see. Then there, of course, have been authors that had blurbs. I saw one on Instagram. I can't remember their name. Also, the author Olivia Blake wrote a blurb praising Shy Girl, but wrote in an email to the Times on Friday that it was truly disheartening to hear that AI may have been involved, asserting that it has no place in art. When she read the book, she continued, "I took it in good faith that the story was authored by a human, and I genuinely found it to be audacious, inventive, and uniquely horrifying." That being said, she added, "Mia Ballard occupies a highly vulnerable position in the publishing industry as a Black female author, so I don't want to leap to any conclusions." Publishers are also wary of AI content because currently AI-generated text and art can't be protected by copyright. Still, given the widespread uses for AI during research, outlining, and other parts of the writing process, there's little clarity on what constitutes its appropriate use. Many in the industry worry that publishers are leaving themselves vulnerable to scammers or even writers who believe their AI use doesn't cross any lines. One problem in regulating authors' AI use is that most corporate publishing houses don't want to ban it outright. Like I said, editors recognize that authors use AI in a range of ways short of writing with it, and publishing executives want to ensure that their employees can use the technology for tasks of creating marketing copy, audio narration, and translation. The rest of the article does talk about other things like authors worried about the moral issue, worried that their work will be stolen. So again, there have been, especially as we have seen more of these language learning models, there have been a lot of allegations when someone doesn't like a book that this was written by AI. Some people pointed out on Threads that the book Silver Elite, a lot of people, because that book got a lot of hype, people don't know who the author is. There was a lot of speculation, and then some people were alleging that they felt like it was written by AI. I only read like 30% of it and DNF'd it. It was not my taste, so I can't speak to if I think it was AI or not. I also don't consider myself to be some super verse, like a person who can like really spot that. Unfortunately, I wish I was. Images, I was better. They keep getting better, and that's pissing me off. I have been fooled. I am very upset about it. I feel very old now. But as far as writing, it's just really unfortunate. And I don't think that a book that was used or edited with AI should be published. I'm not against that. But I do, as many other people, wonder how it got this far, and had other people outside of the publisher not said anything, if there wasn't this chatter online and these people independent from Hachette hadn't put it through these AI detectors and it started gaining traction online, would they have done anything? We've known for the last, I don't know, at least 2020 and before, that publishing has been, people are severely underpaid and overworked. They lay people off. They do not have enough people, especially in editing. We have seen the result of that. And so it's obvious that they have too much on their plate to be able to give the attention to these stories. And so it probably is just more likely that there probably have been other ones that were partially written by AI or edited with AI that have probably slipped through and were published. But there wasn't enough traction online for anyone to do anything about it. So it's like, as a publisher, how did it get this far? You already published it in the UK. You were set to publish it here in the United States. I say here, I'm not in the United States, but in the United States. And it wasn't until independent people outside of your company started making a fuss about it that you were like, oh shit, and then pulled the book. There's a problem. Again, we live in a capitalist society. I know the dollar is the bottom line for all of these people, but it's insane because you could, I know this is gonna sound crazy, you could pay people more money, you could keep people employed and pay them decent wages, and the execs would still have a lot of money. So frustrating. But I'm gonna pull up a couple things on Threads because I thought that was interesting. Now, some people have made the statement, like Olivia Blake, that this is a Black author. We feel like it's kind of, why are we attacking her? And I looked for like an image of Mia Ballard and there isn't one. Okay, I swear last year when the conversation was going on, there wasn't one when I clicked on Goodreads, and then I didn't Google it any further. But there is an image on Goodreads now, and then obviously on Google, of the author. Also, I saw a note that the cover art was used without the permission of the artist. So, big no-no. Some people have been like, I don't know if that's necessarily the driver because she's not widely known that this is a Black author. I mean, but you can never discount race from it, right? But some other people's comments, someone said, I don't want to hear anything about Mia Ballard until y'all start holding white authors to the same standard. This conversation feels very selective. Jess Hastings is still publishing because that goofball has admitted that she uses ChatGPT for like research, which some people may not consider a bad thing, but I do think it is, because there's a thing called Google, and like that's the jumping place where you type in your question and then you go and you find things, or you read books with the information that you need in them. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. I guess it's outdated. Jess Hastings is still publishing, and Andy Weir can openly use AI without backlash. So what are we really doing here? I need someone to run Silver Elite through the AI detection tool. Now, Andy Weir, I don't think, or at least it has not been alleged that he used AI in writing, but he has just posted on his own social media that he uses it like casually. This image says, again, I got bored and had AI make images of my wife in strange outfits and time periods. This is my wife as a prehistoric cave woman. She really liked this one, so she said I could post it. You're just lame. And that's why your books are stupid. I haven't liked The Martian or Project Hail Mary. I haven't seen the movie for the second one, but I'm like, that's just when the film is better than the book. But anyways, I already am salty towards him. But that's just like, But obviously it's not the same because it wasn't in the writing. Someone else brought up another issue or instance of an author using AI for their story. And there was an article saying why I use ChatGPT to write my prize-winning novel. Allegedly, it's because the novel features like a chatbot, and she used ChatGPT to write that part for the chatbot so it could sound more authentic. And so some people are like, that's different. And I guess maybe they were forthcoming with their publisher about that, which is different than Shy Girl being passed off is 100% human written and then them finding out after the fact. Valid. I still don't like it. If you're a good writer, then you can make it sound like it. People have been writing like AI beings, chatbot kind of thing, cloud beings for years without needing to use ChatGPT. So it sounds like that's a skill issue, but whatever. Whatever. Lastly, someone talked about James Frey, who I don't know if you remember, but years ago he wrote a memoir called like A Million Pieces, A Million Little Pieces. He blew up. He was on Oprah, and then it came out that he had lied about that book, like made up parts of the memoir. But he came out with a book, was it a few years ago? And I think I remember hearing about it because it was a book featured in Book of the Month and people were talking about it. They marketed it. It's called Next to Heaven. It said the literary bad boy is back. And we gave his book the gold foil treatment. Now, he did an interview. This is from Variety. James Frey swears his new book about very rich, poorly behaved people isn't based on anyone real. Okay, this interview was only last year. But he admits that he did use AI while writing. In an interview a couple of years ago, you said that you were using generative AI to work on 477. Did you use AI for Next to Heaven? I don't use generative AI to write ever, just so we're clear. I use AI as a writer the same way I used to use Google. Okay, well, still use Google, you lazy piece of shit. I'm looking at my AI right now. We can go to the previous 7 days. Earlier today, I asked it, what is the betting area at a racetrack called? It said it's called the cashier's window or the payout window. Technically in zoning laws, it's called the waging area or the wager area. Why don't you just use Google? It helps me immensely because it's vastly faster than a search engine. But I don't use generative AI to actually compose sentences or put together the text. I mean, I guess I do use it to put together the text of the book. But when we were talking earlier about Next to Heaven, I said I would look up what's the most expensive silverware ever made. AI just gives you the answer a lot fucking faster. And he said he uses ChatGPT. They asked, it doesn't make you nervous at all? I think it makes me nervous to think that AI might potentially replace human writers. But using AI as a tool to make me a better writer or a more efficient writer or to help me use funnier words or to get information I don't know or have, I don't have any issue with. You're a fucking clown. You're a fucking clown. It makes me nervous to think it might replace writers, but I'm using it in a different way. So like, I'm not contributing to that. Fuck you. Fuck everybody who thinks like that. Oh my God. Because there are different types of AI. There's like Grammarly. They have whatever algorithms and stuff, and they look at how grammar is. And then there's ChatGPT, large language model that are fed human information, and it's just algorithms, and they ask you a question and they use the information they've stolen to regurgitate an answer to you. You know how many times like I type into Google, what's the word for something? It does not take that long for something to come up on the first thing. Like, you're not asking it rocket science questions. You're just a lazy piece of shit. And I wouldn't consider you a real writer. Fuck you, James. Bastard. Lastly, I'll share this post and then I'll give my final thoughts. Mia Ballard honestly did not seem prepared for the professional rigor or attention of publishing, hyper-focusing on her and her mistakes like if she gets raked over the coals enough, change will happen is short-sighted. There are real systemic issues that led to the Shy Girl debacle, and we'd be better off discussing them over hyper-scrutinizing one author who just so happens to be a Black woman because, of course, like she's the problem. Those issues are, 1, lack of emerging author supports. Many indie authors are actively encouraged and incentivized to engage in behavior that would be considered unethical or unprofessional in the career spaces they're trying to break into. But they don't find that out until it's too late and they've already dug their own grave, so to speak. This includes using AI, but also includes things like not understanding copyright laws for text or images, not understanding contract or collaboration etiquette, etc. 2, trad publishers taking on authors who they have no intention of supporting. The Shy Girl Trad UK edition seemed legit unedited. That is on the pub for telling her that the book was going to be given the professional release treatment and then just not doing it, throwing her away when it didn't work out. They've learned that A, they don't have to do quality control to make money, and B, if a controversy pops up, they can throw the author under the bus as the fall guy to avoid culpability. 3, lack of consistent AI regulations and lack of consistently applied AI policies on a company level. What counts as AI or AI-assisted work? What is the policy for if we accept or reject it? What is the consequence of using AI in the publishing industry? We don't know. It's not consistent. Some people get away with using it blatantly while others are canceled over the mere accusation of it. Some pubs think it's fine, others don't. None of them seem to have a clear enforcement policy. Have some action items. Be loudly against, including calling your reps bill, the book ban bill. Be loudly against the admin's new AI legislation framework that is anti-regulation. Learn about the legal and professional guidance the WGA and other unions can provide before you pub. Work to make publishing ethics and professional knowledge accessible. Normalize anti-AI clauses with clear consequences in contracts that include freelance contracts or friend collaborations. And Silvio Moreno Garcia added, there's a rhetoric online that anyone can become a self-published author, which means becoming a small business owner, but that's not true. There are resources including time, money, and a learning curve. And I don't think it's made clear enough and often touted as easier than trad when it can be more overwhelming to suddenly be publisher, publicist, editor, writer, and everything else all in one. In this case, the copyright issue with the cover that she originally used without licensing it. Ooh. So I just think that is frustrating. Like, that last post said, we have no hard set lines. It just seems to differ situation to situation, and some people may get away with it and some people don't. I, of course, wish that there was a hard line and a way to, keep that hard line. I wish there were easier ways to spot and detect AI writing and that publishers wouldn't stand for it. Because I just think it hurts the people who are actually writing, because there's still people out there who are writing, who are working on their writing and their craft to get better. Same with artists who create cover art, who just create art in general, people who make music, all of the arts. There are people out there with passion who work on it every day to get better. And then there's somebody who comes in and just wants to make a quick buck and is using AI and is just creating slop. Slop is the best name for AI because that's all it is. It's fucking ass. It's trash. It's garbage. And I try my best, obviously, to not consume anything. And we're not perfect. So you may have read a book. Maybe you read Shy Girl and you liked it. That's not your fault. The publisher should do a better job. And then it's also just not 100% that they can catch it all. It's just really frustrating place we're in with technology. I was telling Andrew, I'm like, I feel like we hit a peak of technology and now we need to go back. I'm thinking like 2012. Yeah, I'm thinking 2012. Like, we had smartphones, but I feel like we should have stopped there. Like, not like health, science, technology. Like, they can keep advancing with disease cures and vaccines and stuff. But like AI, no, we've gone too far. So let me know your thoughts. And if you did happen to read Shy Girl before you found this out, did you feel like that you could tell that it was written by AI, but it's just a scary place that we live in, this world, for numerous reasons. I filmed this on Monday, March 23rd, as allegedly ICE is going into US airports and they haven't paid the actual TSA agents in over a month. And many other things that are happening in the world that'll probably get my video fucking flagged, but you know what I'm saying. So let me know your thoughts down below. Keep it cute, keep it respectful. Thank you for watching. Stay blessed, hydrated, moisturized, and sunscreen. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.